right, what's going on, guys? Mason Bruner here with REI Sift, and today we are talking to another REI Sift user out of Dallas, Fort Worth area. His name's Justin Black, right? Justin Black.
Yes.
And he's another guy that posted an awesome win in our Facebook mastermind group, and I somehow missed it. And I was scrubbing through looking for new interviews, and I saw his awesome post back from January 17th. It somehow got past me. But the post went like this. It says, trust the process. Two first to market contracts this week. One follow-up lead came down 40K from original asking and one from a not interested campaign of prospects from Q3. That's really dope. So I would love to hear about that, Justin. Maybe if you could just introduce us real quick, how long you've been doing real estate, and then just break down those deals, talk about your first to market flow.
Okay. So been doing real estate, I want to say 2020. So
Okay.
kind of crazy how it got started. I was just this was right during pandemic time. Well, actually before then I was learning about wholesaling, but we really didn't pick up until right around the pandemic time. I met my business partner Andrew on a I can't remember. It was like a wholesaling Facebook page,
Okay.
and we kind of at the time he was working for a company, a wholesaling company. He was like doing transaction coordination,
Mhm.
and he kind of wanted to branch out and do his own thing. So we just hit it off, was bouncing questions off each other, and then ultimately, we decided like, hey, let's just go ahead and make this a business. Like, let's
Right, right.
do let's go go all in and let's make a business for ourselves. So that's what we did, and that was right around like May 2020 is kind of like when we really got started. We had closed the deal I think January of 2020 together. No,
Nice.
not January, it was March of 2020. That was
Okay.
the first deal, but we weren't like official business partners then. Like it was
Okay.
just yeah, it was just some. Yeah, that was a weird one, but it was some trial and error. But like May
Okay.
20, it was when we officially, got in the business together, created our LLC, and then haven't looked back ever since then.
Nice, nice. Okay, so how's the business changed since then? When did REI Sift come into play?
Oh man, business has changed a lot. I would say REI Sif. I want to say 2021. I can't remember. It was a challenge. It was a challenge back in
Okay.
2020. I can't remember exactly which one it was,
Okay.
but that's kind of when I was introduced to it and just learning about, data, like the
Yep.
biggest thing, understanding where to get data from, how to market to the data. And it was like profound to me because at that same time, we were getting information from all different places about, data and like I'm not going to name drop any companies, but we
Right.
were signed up subscriptions and with all those things and paid an absurd amount of money to get data and all these things, and it's just like draining. It was draining our business, so it was like, okay, we learned about RAISF, and I've been using the platform since then. Now it took us some time because we joined a mentorship to like it was a bunch of things that came into place that
Yeah.
got derailed from the process of RSF, and it was like so we would go like a couple of months of doing it, and then the mentorship was like,
Okay.
oh, shiny object syndrome, basically.
Yep.
You guys need to look at this and do this, and so then we'll do that, crash and burn on that. Then we try to go back to RSF, start doing that a little bit, and then something else comes up, crash and burn on that. So it was just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it's kind of been like that for it was like that for like almost like 2 years. Like it was just not
Yeah.
completely going through the entire process. It was just
We're always here waiting. We'll pick you up when you fall down.
right. It was just shiny
But I
object.
mean, dude,
Shiny.
the shiny object syndrome, it's It comes from a good place though. It
Yeah,
really does. Like you're trying, like you're giving yourself a shot at something you really believe it's the right thing. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know?
man, who you telling? And it's just staying true to yourself, honestly. Like, you know what you're trying to accomplish. Stay true to that because at the end of the day, and like that's kind of something my business partner on. Like, we have a relatively small team, and we've always had. And we know that we didn't want to be this big conglomerate. Like,
Right.
we didn't want to be a mega wholesaling machine because it's a lot of responsibilities that come with that, and like we just didn't have no desires for that. Like, we want to be able to still make money and do things with our family and not have to
Right.
put out fires every single day. So it was like
Yeah.
that's something that is near to us. Is like our family. I'm married with a son.
Okay.
My business partner, he's married with 3 kids. So it's
Right.
like we want to make sure we have time for our families. Like that
Yep.
is that is number one at the top of our priorities list.
Yeah. One of the best ways I heard it put was from Jacob Bluestein. I don't know if you know who that is. He spoke during our market domination boot camp, and he's one of our users that we've showcased quite often over the past few years. And he's doing like above 500K a year, and he travels full time, like completely virtual. And he puts it as he has a lifestyle company.
Mm,
And even though his numbers and his um, setup is a little different than yours, that's the
yeah,
same thing as you're doing. You're doing a lifestyle. You're making money to support the way you want to live. You want to be a family man, and you figured out how to do that. That's pretty dope. So
right.
let's talk about those. Let's talk about those two first to market contracts. How did that all come about? How long were you doing first to market before those contracts came about?
So let's see. I joined the first to market challenge. Was it May of last year? I think it
Oh,
was April or May. It might have been May. Taken. So joined it in May. Didn't officially start everything until June.
yep.
Yeah, it was right around mid June is when we started because we had at one point we completely phased out like our outbound marketing channels.
Okay.
Like, we weren't doing like our main form of marketing is still to this day is like radio. Like, we
Oh,
we
really?
we do a really good job with radio,
Write that down.
and we've been using radio for I'd say the last 4 years, honestly. But like, that's kind of like our bread and butter. But we've dibbled and dabbled in other things that didn't, yield the return on investment. But yeah, June is when we really kicked it off, and we hired a caller, and her primary job was to go through the whole flow, the whole presets, and make those calls and try to, get the correct numbers, the wrong numbers, different things like that. So that was June, and then we really didn't pick up any steam on it. I would say probably around September,
Okay.
and the primary
Sounds about right though.
focus evictions. So we were doing eviction records, pulling it straight from the county, Tarrant County and Dallas County. That's what we were targeting, and that's kind of what happened. How we stumbled upon these leads with these two contracts.
What
Yeah.
you're saying makes perfect sense though, because when you do first to market, you are literally oftentimes the first person to talk to them. So you're gonna generate a lot of not interesteds. And you look at these two leads, what are they? They're people that were correct numbers that weren't ready to sell when you first called them. But because you had a system in place to retarget them, you were able to get those deals. And these are just like opportunities that can happen throughout your main marketing funnel, which is your radio. So that's really interesting. Yeah, it takes a minute to build some steam, but you're building the rapport with numerous people over time because you're the first person to talk to them and they haven't sorted out what the heck they want to do with their house yet. And
Right.
you follow up enough, and then bam, you get one that talks down 40K, and then one comes from a not interested. So that's really, really cool. And these were in Dallas?
Yes. And so the the one that was talked down from 40K, that was kind of a mixture of
Okay.
it was a probate. Yeah, I'm looking at it. It was probate and eviction. So what happened? The daughter, it was her father's property, and originally she took over the property, like it went through probate and everything. She took over the property, and there were some tenants in there that, well, not even tenants, they were like squatting. So she had went through, she filed an eviction form for those people. Seller was the daughter. Her father owned the property. She went through probate to obtain the ownership of the property. And then there was like some squatters in there that she had to, file an eviction for. So originally she wanted around like 290, 300,000 for the property.
Okay.
And then, we kind of just, I mean, originally she came into the CRM. I mean, we qualified her as a lead. Yeah, it's wow. So qualified her as a lead in July. And it was just following up, following up, following up, checking in, see how everything was going. And then finally, she caved in, and then we were able to get her under contract at 250. And you know, which was crazy about that. So that property just sold last week because so what we did was we got it for 250. My our company assigned my business partner and his wife, they also like flip properties outside of what we're doing. So we assigned it, our company assigned it to my business partner and his wife for, 270. And then they went ahead. Originally, they were going to try to wholesale it, but they didn't really get enough interest on it. So they went ahead and did the full remodel on the property, and they just sold that one last week because they had a
Nice.
buyer, financing fell through. Then they had to, fix some things on the property, but they just sold that same property. Uh,
Hmm.
I can't remember I don't have the price of what they netted on that one, but yeah, they just sold that same property last week. They closed on it last week.
That's dope. So how does your long-term follow-up look? Like when this is the eighth, ninth time you called the person and they know your voice, they probably recognize your number. Like,
Yeah, and so we have a designated lead manager,
okay,
Sophie. She's been with us since 2021, honestly. She's
okay,
like she's a rock star. So
sweet.
essentially my partner Andrew is like over acquisitions. He's typically the one at this time he was doing our acquisitions. He was back doing our acquisitions. So he's the one that Sophia set the appointment, qualified. He made the offer. Once the offer was kind of declined, we put Sophia on her to follow up. And typically what she will do, it's kind of like, I mean, I feel like everybody in the industry does that. Like the seller says follow up in a month, they cut it in half, do
Yeah.
that. So she was doing things like that, just checking in, just seeing where she's at with the process, with everything. So that's pretty much how we do it. It's just relentless. Like we know these people have a problem, and we knew that she was going to sell because she, I can even look through our notes. Like she was tired of dealing with it. Like she had no plans of trying to put a tenant in there or, fix it up. So it was just a matter of, a timing. Like just be in the right place at the right time. So when she actually is ready to make that decision, we can be the first ones to, she can go with.
Right, right. Okay. So that was the 40K down. Any notable details about that second one? The one from the not interested campaign?
So the second one, that was the one on Marburg. Mistaken? Okay.
Marbury.
Marburg. Marburg.
Stefan Marbury?
Oh, okay. So this one, that's the way. Okay, so originally he told us that he was not interested. His wife had passed away. He didn't want to do anything with the property. He was just, oh, you know what? Yeah, this was actual this one was a price a price drop as well originally because
Really?
yeah, I'm looking at the notes. So originally he wanted around 156 for the property, but he also stated that his brother-in-law was living in the property. So he was like, I'm not gonna do anything with it. And this was on, I don't even know how it was on it was an eviction, like it was from an eviction campaign. I don't know if he was trying to evict the brother or what. It doesn't, I mean, I don't have, it's not specified in our notes, but he wanted 156,000 for it. But he was like, my brother-in-law was staying in the property. He's not really trying to do anything with it. So it's like, all right, not interested. We just labeled him as not interested. And what we did was we had him in our preset to call the non our cold caller
Yep.
we put him on a single line dollar. Those people from like the previous quarter. So I think he told us he was not interested. This had to be like last that had to be what Q4. It was either Q3 or Q4 in 2024. And so then at the top of the year, she did, she does what she do. She calls through them single line dollar on a not interested, and then he just so happened to, be ready to sell it because the brother-in-law was moving out of the property. And we ended up putting him under contract at, I think this was I didn't even specify this. So he originally was asking like 156. Yeah, so this is crazy. So we put him under contract at 90,000.
Hell.
Yeah, and he originally, when it came in, it was like 156 is what he was saying. But I'm not, my brother-in-law's in the property. I'm not looking really to do anything with it. So yeah, we just followed up. Like, it's always amazing how these people, just a couple of months can just change
Yep.
drastically. And it's like we don't even, and that's what we do. We don't even bring up the original price that he pitched to us. I think it was just like, all right, well, how much are you looking to sell for? And I think he was just like, yeah, my partner went out there, gave him he went to the property, viewed it, gave him a hard reset on the expectations and what, properties in that area are selling as is. And then he, basically accepted that offer of 90,000. And we ended up selling that one. Yeah, we found a buyer for 101,500.
Nice.
So that was, roughly 10K, 10K deal
Yeah.
after, a couple of fees we took care of it. So yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome from not interested.
Yes.
So earlier we talked about the idea of the lifestyle company a little bit, and you had mentioned before we started the call that you're heading to the Dominican, I think you said. Um, and you said, "Man, I got to get my stuff prepared." What does that look like? Maybe there's people out there that are kind of trying to start dabbling in that a little bit. How are you getting prepared for your trip?
So I mean, main thing, so kind of how I'll give you a rundown of how our business is structured right now today. So
Okay.
right now it is my partner Andrew and I, we are the business owners.
Okay.
Primarily over our dispo department.
Okay.
My partner Andrew does acquisitions. We do have a acquisitions sales rep named Bruce who's been with us probably around like I think we brought him on officially like November of last year. And then we have a transaction coordinator, Tabitha. We have we have a data manager, VA, Christy, and then we have Sophia, who's our lead manager, and then we have Angie, who's our cold caller. So all of those people are virtual except Tabitha and Bruce. They're local in our market. But preparing for me, 'cause like I said, I'm primarily over Dispo and I oversee Dispo because we don't have a Dispo rep right now currently. So we have about 3 properties that need buyers in our inventory. And my biggest thing is like I'm going into overdrive to make sure, we have a buyer assigned, buyer locked into these properties so that, we're not having to worry about, reaching out to people when I'm traveling. Like I can
Sure.
just, you know, let the transaction coordinator do their job and then, acquisitions still they're gonna be locking up deals and whatnot. They're never gonna slow down that, but at least that's something that can be addressed as far as a buyer when I come back. Whereas these that are right here in front of me, like those are my primary focus to make sure I'm getting these 3 properties in front of as many people as possible over the next couple of days, so that way we can, get it assigned and keep it moving.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we'll probably have to, if you want, you could probably post that in the mastermind group. There's plenty of people in Texas looking. Um, Something I also wanted to ask you about is radio. You had, I mean, I don't know how many interviews I've done at this point, maybe high 20s, maybe 30 people. And I don't know that I have someone that said they're doing radio. Usually when people are getting inbound leads, it's direct mail and PPC or whatever, PPL.
Yes. And so like I said, we've been on radio since 2021. Um,
And that's like your main lead source.
our main lead source, and it's just because, I mean, we have a great relationship with the radio station, so we are able to, I mean, not really discount it, but I mean, since we have that great relationship, like we're able to, get favorable terms, basically.
Sure,
We've like I said, since 2021, we've been on it. We've kind of, we make adjustments to our ads here and there, depending on like we know the numbers, so it's like we know when something is stale, so we're able to quickly adjust it and then change up the ad or do something like that to pick our numbers back up. But yeah, that's been our bread and butter, like that inbound aspect. Granted, we've tried, we've did the PPL, we've did the direct mail, like the bulk direct mail. We've done SMS blast, cold calling. We've always like we stop for a little bit, but we always keep it because it's like it's valuable to us. Like it's easy to set up and to get somebody trained to doing so. And then it just yields results for us, like being able, I think with the SMS, we stopped it because we kept running into a lot of issues with people not really being who they are and like
okay,
a lot of that. So my partner, like, we just made an executive decision, like, yeah, this is just too much of a headache for managers, which we know a lot of people that still do it, but it was just too much for us. Like, we just like, look, we're just gonna go ahead and just keep the cold calling. We just need to change up who we're calling. That's
sure,
the big
sure.
with cold
Okay.
calling.
So then, like with the radio, is it they hear the ad and they get a phone number on there, or they go into a web?
So we have website and phone number on it, but primarily people will call. So we have those calls routed directly to our acquisitions sales guy, Bruce. So he answers those live. So like if somebody calls right now, he's going to pick it up live and and qualify from there.
Sure, sure. Okay. And I guess I got just a couple questions left before we get out of here. What are your big goals for the company before the end of the year? What are you guys trying to reach? What are your hopes? What are you trying to have established?
Um, Man, I would say our biggest goal right now is to we really want to be in a place to where we are building up our cash reserves and paying down our credit card debt that we ran up from horrible advice from previous years about the marketing and different things
Sure.
like that. We just completely mismanaged the
Sure.
business that we've had, but we're in a way better space than this year
Yeah.
than before. So right now we're just building up cash reserves and eliminating some of our debt so that 2026 on the horizon we are looking to, do new build construction
Oh,
with
nice.
so we were a part of a mentorship, a building mentorship to where they kind of just teach you how to, build the homes. They give you the resources to the lenders and like everything is set up for us. We just want to make sure that our cash and our credit is in a strong, healthy position to where 2026 we can go ahead and start doing that as well as still wholesaling. Like we're always going to do that because it's
Yep.
it's opportunities with that, but we also want to do because we fixed and flipped I think about 3 properties within the company, and now we kind of want to move into new build construction and development. So that's on the horizon for us.
That's good. That's good. I like that. And I'd like to close it out with in the past 5 years, since business started for you, what are the big overarching concepts that you learned as a businessman? What are the, lessons learned, things you would tell yourself now? Like, in jujitsu, we always say the person that I am today in jujitsu could beat the crap out of the person I was in jujitsu on the first day. I like to see how that relates with business. How has things changed for you?
I would say keep the main thing,
Keep the main thing the main thing.
simplify. Like it's very easy in this industry because you see what other people are doing and it's easy to just get distracted from doing what you're already good at doing and doubling down on that because it's like you think the grass is greener. In reality, it's like, look, you're already on the right track. Like if you're getting deals, you're closing deals, you're able to, be consistent, then you're gonna be just fine. You may have to tweak, something here and there, but don't get distracted from the noise because we've done it. And it's like every time we always like, ah man, we shouldn't have like, why did we do that? Why do we even, why did we pay for that? Like that was wasted money. We could and been fine. So it's like we learned a lot from that. It's like this business is it's simple. It's not something that you know anybody can really do this business. If you are consistent and have the right mindset, like you can be successful.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you opening the book up for us and uh, sharing some stuff that maybe left you a little vulnerable. Especially, it was really helpful with those last statements and like talking about the lifestyle company. That's huge. You don't necessarily have to be the big conglomerate, like you said. You can build a business that'll provide for a family and do what you got to do outside of that. And we're always looking for, I think that some of the most attractive businesses are the ones that are extremely ethical and extremely family oriented. So when we talk about businesses that are just trying to make the money to take our families on vacation, I think that's one of the easiest things to resonate with for the viewers out there. So this, for me, this is a very important interview. So I really appreciate your time. If you have anything you want to leave us with before we go, that's cool. If not,
Um, Only thing is, I mean, I would say just the community. Like I really appreciate the REISF community. Like I've learned a lot from other people in the community, like specifically like McLean.
Yeah.
McLean, he's in our market, but like I've took so many gems from McLean, like stuff that he said in the past. Like to this day, I still use his uh what is it? His lean reduction script. Like years ago, I think he posted this probably like in 2021. And I still to this day, like when we need a lean reduction or something, like I use that exact verbiage. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but
Yeah.
little tidbits like of what people, you know, it's a go-giver community. So like and just with Tyler, like I like his approach. Like he's always straightforward. He's not, he's going to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear.
Perfect, man. Well, we've been holding you long enough. I know you probably got some calls you got to make. I appreciate your time, man. We'll close the call out here, and maybe in 6 months or so, we'll have another follow-up call, and we'll link back up and hear what's going on, see if you're getting towards the goals, and appreciate your time.